Over the last couple of videos, we've been talking about some of the challenges that stop people creating budgets, some of the things that stop people being able to start, whether it's not knowing where to start, not having a tool to do it, not knowing how to actually capture the information, whatever it might be. What we're going to do today is start to overcome some of that. And we spoke about building a tool or creating a tool in I think it was the last video. We're going to do that today. So this is going to be a really simple budget. We'll have some income and expense fields. You can really make it as big as you like, but it will be a simple model. We'll look to do a more intermediate or advanced budget over the coming videos. And at the end, one of the other things we'll look to add in there is the ability to vary or increase or decrease allocations to different amounts. So we'll put that at the back end of this video as well. What I will do is I will try and save this Excel file so you can download it. So hopefully if you're watching this now, you can download it or you can follow along and maybe learn a few things in Excel as we go. If you see anything that I'm doing that you think we could have done differently or could add some value by teaching me a few things in Excel, that'd be great and really welcomed as well. So look, let's get into it and start creating this. So what we need to do, I might just change some of the formatting here. We're going to create an income and expense section. So we'll create the income first. Actually, probably won't need it quite that big. Let's start here. We'll call this income. We'll call this category for the income, and we'll call this the amount. Down here, we're going to want to have a total, and here we will sum up all of these amounts. Let's just make this a little bit wider. How big do we want it? 24 should be okay. And here we will make that 16. Okay, 16. Oops. And we'll make this a bit bigger as well. Okay, all right, great. So that's now got a section for our income. We will tidy it up a little bit as we go. Let's make all of this, what color will we make it? We'll make it blue. We'll have white section. So I create, I try and use the color coding just so I know what to update and what not to update. So the white section would be something that I would be editing and can go in and change any time. Anything that has color would be something that would stay away from. Just might have a formula in it, or it might be a static heading or whatever it might be. So, and we'll throw a border around this as well. All right, and then that's just about our income. Let's just add some bold here. And we'll throw that over to the right. So that's our income. We've got about 10 categories. So if you want to add more, you can absolutely add more. Just right click, insert, and add more fields if you need to, but for this we'll keep it at the 10. And then we're going to do the exact same thing. We'll just copy this across and we will paste this for expenses, and we'll format it quickly as well. What did we do? We did 24 and 16. Okay, and we'll just change the color as well. So let's make this, maybe we make it this, what color is that? Orange maybe? And white. Obviously you can pick and choose the colors as you see fit. Not too fussed about that. It's more just differentiating the different colors. Now, one of the things that I do like to do when I create files is to just have checks and balances in there. I find this to be really important just so you don't make mistakes as you go or miscalculate something. So we're going to call this balance. Now the purpose I should say of the budget is that it balances to zero. So we want to make sure that the total income and the total expenses match. And if they don't match, then we want something to happen. And that something is just a flag with us that there's something that we need to check or something that we need to look further into. So we're going to add a formula. I might just change the color here quickly. We'll just make it a dark color. That will do. And white. And we're going to add a formula in here. We're going to make an if statement. If you're not familiar with if statements, it's if something happens, then do this. And if something is true, do this. And if it's not true, do something else. So we're looking at if this minus this equals 0. So that means that they balance. Then we want something to happen here. We're just going to write perfect. So if it says perfect, if it balances, it'll say perfect and we know that it's okay. If not, we want to display the difference. Okay, and perfect. And we might just add some conditional formatting. So if the cell contains values equal to the word perfect, then what do we want? We want this to fill, we want it to go green, and we want bold. Okay. And then we want, let's add another rule in here. If not equal to perfect, then we want something else to happen. What do we want here? We want it to, let's make it red and bold. Okay, so let's just test that. So if we put $1 in here, it says $1. We want that to be $sign as well. But we can see that it's $1 out. We've got $1 in income and 0 in expenses. So it's $1 out, which is exactly what we wanted to happen. So let's just format this a little bit further, just to tidy it up a little bit. 25, we'll make these a little bit bigger as well. What height are they currently? Let's make them 20. Okay, and I lost my indenting. All right, so we've got that. Now that looks pretty good to me. So let's just have a look at how we could use this and how this might work. We're going to add a salary. Let's add a salary, and for the purpose of this example, we've got $1,000 that's coming in on salary. Now the balance here is $1,000 and it doesn't match. So now we need to move across to our expenses and start putting in our expenses. So what might we have? We might have rent, and our rent might be $300. We might have utilities that go with that. Now you can list these individually if you want. You want to list your gas and electricity and water, by all means go for it. For the purpose of what we're doing here, we'll just categorize it as utilities, which is fine. And that might be $250, or let's say $200. Or $200. We've now got a balance of $500, which we need to work through. So we might have groceries for food, which is $200. And then from there, we might have insurance, which might be, I don't know, let's say it's $50. And then we've got transport. We catch the train, or for car, petrol, whatever it might be. And this might be $100. We've then got a holiday that we're saving for, and that's $50. We've got an emergency fund that we're saving for, and we're trying to get emergency fund behind us so that if something happens and we need a pool of funds, we've got something there. And in that we're putting $50, and maybe we've got just a savings account that we're saving up for a house. We're saving up for a house savings, $50. That now matches out. So we could change this and move it around as we see fit, and if our utilities was to increase to $250, then we know, okay, well, we need to peg this back from somewhere. Can we get anything back on transport? Can we ride a bike instead of catching the train or driving the car? Do we need this house saving? Do I need the holiday? What is it that needs to change? And maybe it's groceries that we decide, you know what, we can take some certain things out of whatever it is that we're buying, and drop that back to 150. So that's how we could use this. The other thing that we might have in here is entertainment. You know, we want to be able to go out and do things. We want to be able to go and have drinks with our friends, or go and watch the sporting game, or go out and have dinner. So we might have that in there as well, and that might be $100. As a result, we transport and we decide that the house savings can wait. So that's how you can use this and play around. What you want to happen here is it to balance. We want to know how much money is coming in, and then as a result, how is that being allocated. What's important here is that we're forecasting for the future, not just what's already happened. So we need to have a way in which we can, if we found out that our rent was going up by 10%, that we can feed this in really quickly and really easily. Or if our utilities bills were going to go up 20%, because that's what we're hearing in the media, that electricity's going up 20% as an example, if that was the case. But how do we respond to that? So let's have a look at how we might do that now. And just while we're doing that, if this video, if you are finding some value out of this and this is useful, please like and subscribe to the channel. There will be a more intermediate budget coming through as well, we spoke about at the beginning of this video. So if you want to see that, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that. But let's have a look at how this might work. All right, so we're going to need to have here, what are we going to call it? We'll call it variation in amount, or variation of amount. Okay, and then we need to have our current amount. We need to have, we'll call it change direction. So change direction will be, is the variation that we're expecting to see going to be an increase or a decrease? Is it going up or is it going down? We'll have change percent. Let's see if we can fix these. Let's 22. That should be okay. And then we need to have new amount. All right, and then we'll throw a quick border around that so we know what we're working with. We will add some color here again, so we're going to be updating these three. We want this to automatically calculate, so we need to work out a calculation for that, and we will bold that, we'll center that, and we will just add a quick divider in here as well. All right, now that's going to be, this and this both need to be dollars, and this is going to be a percent. All right, so what are we dealing with here? We're dealing with rent. Rent is going to go up by 5%. So we've got rent of $300. So we're going to put $300 in there. We've then got a change direction. So the way in which we need to do this, or the way that we'll do this in this template, is we will create a drop down. If you haven't created a drop down before, it's data validation. There's multiple ways to do this, by the way. But the most simple way, we're just going to have two options, is via a list. And we're going to have two options, and that's going to be increase and decrease. If you want to add more options, just use the comma to separate them. But we're going to have those two. So when we come here now, we've got a drop down, increase and decrease. So we're going to have an increase in rent, and that's going to be an increase of 5%. We then need a calculation here that's going to apply that for us. So the calculation the same way that we used the if statement before, we're going to use an if statement again. So it is if the direction equals increase, then what do we want to do? We want to run the calculation, and that calculation is the current amount multiplied by, open brackets, 1 plus the change amount. So the 1 is essentially 100%, plus 5 is 105%. So we're multiplying 300 by 105, which will give us the new amount. So that's if it says increase, that's what we want it to do. If, however, it says decrease, so we'll do another if statement. If this equals decrease, then we want to run the calculation as well. So the calculation this time will be the current amount multiplied by 1 minus the change. So 1 again being 100% minus a change of 5% means it's going to be 95% of the 300. So we close bracket, and if both are false, then we just want it to be blank. All right, perfect. So in this example where we're looking at rent, we've got rent, it wants to increase by 5%, 315. So let's take the 315 and put it back in here. We've now overspent by $15. One of the things that we've looked at in income is just the salary. So what happens if we do have something else? So as an example, we might have dividends that we'd forgotten to consider. And those dividends might be $100. We've now got $85 here. And again, if you want to add additional rows, you can insert, you've got those there. And you can just continue on your merry way. We're not going to worry about it for what we've got here, so I'm just going to collapse it back down. But we've got an additional $85, so we might decide at this point, actually this house savings, we want to add this back in. So we go and add that back in. At the same time, maybe our utilities, we've gone and had solar installed as an example. So what's that going to mean? Well, it means we're actually now expecting a decrease. So let's apply $250 of the current amount. Change direction is a decrease, and it's going to decrease by 10%. Our new amount is now $225. So we take $225, we apply that to our utilities, and we've now got $60. Now, the whole purpose of this is being able to look into the future and what do we expect to happen? What adjustments do we need to make to our budget? And groceries might be one. The cost of living is increasing. So we're going to go and apply an increase of 10% as an example, $165. We put that in. So when we get paid next, or this $1,000 payment, or however often we're budgeting, this might be weekly, it could be fortnightly, it could be monthly, it could be annually, depending on how you're paid. We know exactly where every single dollar is going and every single dollar is accounted for. What is important though is that we continually get this to balance, and that makes sure that we're spending the money anyway, but we know exactly where it's going and we know exactly how it's going to be used. And in this example, and highlighting again, the purpose of a budget isn't to reduce your lifestyle, isn't to reduce your spending capacity or your perceived spending capacity. We know we now have $45 that we're going to put into this holiday because we really want the holiday. We really want to bring that forward, or have a great time, or be able to go and stay at that hotel that's a bit nicer, or go and do that sightseeing tour that we weren't able to afford before. So we can go and put that in now with full comfort, knowing that we've got everything in a budget covered off. We've got an emergency fund if that's important to us. We've got our savings, it's there as well, and we're getting the holiday. So that's all there. As I mentioned earlier, this is saved and attached for you. The next video we're going to run will be a more intermediate version of this, which will include some of how do we actually start to capture these categories and understand, well, utilities 225, where are we actually getting that from? How does that actually all tie together? So if that's something of interest to you, again, please subscribe to the channel and look forward to seeing you in the next video.